Hello and welcome to PerchPeek Pods, the only place to get long-form interviews with some of the world's leading global mobility folk. I'm delighted today to be joined by Liis Valdsalu, Head of Global Mobility at Bolt. Liis, introduce yourself to the community and tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your role at Bolt before we jump in from there.
Thank you, Paul, for the invitation. So I'm Liis and I'm head of global mobility at Bolt. I joined already a bit over 3.5 years ago. My background is I had an ideal thought that I will be a civil servant.
Nice.
Then moved to HR because I felt that I love to work with people. And when I work with people in one of the public organizations, I saw that all the expats are just somewhere, they didn't have any help and so on. So I felt that I want to work with them, help them. And that's how it all started. So I literally learned everything on my own in the beginning, like just read through the laws, tried to understand, called to the migration advisors at the police, asking all those stupid questions, trying to understand how it really works. And then started like slowly helping the expats who work with us, just like try to search for homes and stuff. And it all started from there. And after that, they decided to join an agency to get a bit different view to see how that part works. And after that, they joined Bot to put the two experiences together and start building our global mobility site from scratch.
Amazing. What an amazing background. I love that you started in the trenches, calling up the government, being like, tell me how this works. That's awesome. And it doesn't surprise me at all based on our previous conversations. But for those not familiar, tell us about Bolt as a company, and tell us a little bit about the mobility program there and sort of what you're overseeing over the past 3.5 years.
Yeah, so who doesn't know about this a really big company now? We're in more than 40 different countries. We have around 4,000 employees, and we have different verticals. Like I believe people maybe know us the best about the ride-hailing part because especially if you travel in Europe or Africa, you're seeing Bolt-branded taxis a lot.
All the time,
But we also have Bolt Food, Bolt Drive. We have our scooters around the world. So there are different things happening here, and that's why we also need a really specific talent with a really specific background. And that's why my team is really needed, because we never will find the people from Estonia where our HQ is located. But we need to bring the talent here.
Nice. And I'm looking forward to that. As you say, we should have led off with the fact that you're based in Tallinn and Estonia, as is Bolt's HQ. Thank you for all the work that you and the team do in helping us move around cities around the world. It has been a crazy growth story the last 5 years. And one of the reasons I was most excited to chat to you today is you did something quite unusual with the program over the past few years, in that you went from predominantly using agencies, so agencies support with immigration, with relocation, etc., to moving most of that work in-house. This, as you know, is probably the opposite of what most people in the community have done over the past few years, but I know you've done it very, very successfully. So I'd love for you to just give an overview of why you took that decision to go in-house and some of the big learnings you've had over the past few years.
Yeah, so I would say that when I joined, we didn't have a really formal plan in place, because I had the experience having the in-house function for global mobility, but I also had the agency view of things. So when I joined, firstly, I tried to see what's happening, what are the numbers, what is the data around it. And as the most of relocations were happening to Estonia, where our HQ is located, then it made sense to try it, because the numbers were high. We were talking about like 300 relocations to Tallinn in 1 year. In Estonia, as I would say, we're a small country. we have only few agencies here, then 300 cases can be full agencies work for a whole year. And
Yeah.
then we were like, maybe we can try the in-house version. And I like to dream big, set
Nice.
big goals. So I was like, yeah, but let's try it in Estonia. We don't have to try it globally right away. Let's try
Yeah.
it here. So I joined Bolt. I start building the logics. I start hiring at the same time because I need additional team member.
Yeah.
So when I finally had one team member joining, then all we did was like write different templates, search
Yeah.
for the platform to use, and start taking first cases in-house to see if we can handle it, what we should change. And also, I would say it's pretty easy to write the templates and set up the processes if you're already going through the process.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it went that way. The third member to join our team was an intern without any knowledge about global
Wow.
mobility. She has a legal background. So then I started training her, adding more and more cases to our own workload. And at one point we were like, okay, we're ready to give up the agencies and do
Wow.
everything in-house, because we saw that we're already working like an in-house agency. We can handle the cases. We had the logic in place. And I would say, even though the first half of the year or even a year, like the work days were really long, I'm honest about that. And maybe we could have done the change a bit smoother and not so
Yes.
fast.
Yeah. I don't want to jump into
But
that.
I wanted to show the management that it's a good place to save them money, have a bit more faster response here, because
Yeah.
we know agencies usually take up to 2 working days to reply, but
Mm-hmm.
in-house you can prioritize it better,
Yeah.
depending, in what phase they are and if
Yeah.
they need an immediate response or not. So it was easier to prioritize that part. And yeah, I would say then I just continued to grow my team.
Nice. So many questions, Liis. So, firstly, I love I love what you mentioned at the end there in terms of both potentially saving cost and trying to improve the employee experience by sort of speeding up those response times. I want to jump back a bit and jump up to different people have very different sort of definitions of what they mean by in-house. So just help step the community through in terms of services. Is this immigration? Is it booking temporary accommodation? Is it booking flights for people? What were things that you used to use agencies for that now you and your team were sort of doing in-house?
Yeah, I would say previously almost everything was outsourced. Only
Yeah.
flight tickets were organized in-house.
Yeah.
But now we have Estonia and Poland, which are fully in-house, where
Wow.
we do the immigration, flight bookings, temporary accommodation, long-term accommodation, kindergarten, school searches, whatever, everything
Wow.
in-house. There isn't the number of things we do, but if a person has an issue, they need some help, then we try to solve it. But of course, we have some locations where we have divided the task between us and the agencies. For example, the right to work checks are done in-house in most of the countries. Maybe if we need to have immigration done there, then of course we need to use agencies' help, because in some countries the paperwork is in a local language, and as
Exactly.
my team is divided between Estonia and Poland, then
Yeah.
it's hard to always offer that. So we try to divide it in a way that we know that the quality in other countries is the same as in Estonia. So the quality would be good and the
Yeah.
transition would be smooth. So that's why we have divided it that way. And also for us, it's a bit easier that way, because our main focus is still in Estonia, because our
Yeah.
HQ is here and we want to have people here. And some other locations like Poland, Germany, where
Yeah.
also a lot is happening, there we're doing also most of the things in-house. So yeah, and of course we're always expanding, so we're trying to learn new things, I
Of
would say, on
course.
everyday basis.
Yeah, of course, and that's very impressive that you managed to take so much in house. And You mentioned in terms of cost savings being one of the biggest goals. Where did you see the most cost savings? Was it saving on immigration spend, saving on reload spend? Where did you sort of see those materialize in the most tangible way?
I would say definitely the immigration part. And even if you don't bring the full immigration part in-house, then I would say that right to work check. Usually we're talking about like 200 euros per check. But if you have those checks, I don't know, 20 checks per week, that's a really huge cost saving already. And yeah, in Estonia, as we had a lot of cases, then the saving was also really visible because we had the ability to do everything in-house and we didn't have to use that money for the agencies anymore, because it's really easy to bring the booking the temporary accommodation in-house or
Yeah,
flight tickets. But with immigration, it can be trickier,
yeah,
and you need people who have the knowledge, because
yes,
the immigration laws are constantly changing,
of
and you need to
course.
be really confident that you're doing the right thing.
Yes. So that's actually my next question then is I can hear people saying, what about when immigration laws change, and how do you stay on top of that? How do you try and stay on top of what's going on in Poland, Estonia, Germany, as you mentioned?
To be honest, maybe it sounds a bit like cliche, but if you
Yeah,
find really passionate people, it's not
yeah,
that hard. Because I don't
yeah.
know, in the morning, if you're drinking your coffee, you're like scrolling like news, and you're like, okay, this is happening there. You open it, you go to the state websites, you're trying to understand better. If needed, of course, you can consult with different lawyers who are
There's it.
really maybe in that location, they know better, trying to understand that side. But I would say that for me, I have been in global mobility around 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
It's a part of my lifestyle. I'm like,
Yes.
Germany is again changing something. That's interesting.
Yes.
What are they doing? It's in a way you're like, okay, what's happening next? Really passionate about the things,
Yeah.
because it's part of that job. It's in constant change.
I love
And
it.
it's part of that, because in EU we can see that we're missing the employees, but at the same time, nobody wants to have this mass immigration that could affect local people. So it's
Yeah.
really fine balance there.
Yes. 100%. It's yeah, and that's a huge trend in general. It is that balance. Tell us about finding these passionate mobility folk in Tallinn. You mentioned you had an intern as your third team member. What's been your approach to finding the right talent for your team when you're doing so much in-house?
Yeah, I would say more than half of my team came with zero experience.
Wow.
They just were interested in global mobility, and I was like, okay, I can train you. And
Yeah.
I would say that maybe some people will think that it's a risky decision, but I had this kind of, I would say, a gut feeling. I saw that they're
Mhm.
passionate, they want to learn new things. Some of them have been expats on their own,
Yeah.
so they know what is the pain.
Of course. Yeah.
So it was easy to teach them. They were really interested to get to know more. And with, I would say that I hate micromanaging.
Yeah.
I prefer to teach in a way that this is your first case. Let's do it in cooperation.
Mhm.
You prepare things. I just double check before you send out and learn that way.
Yeah.
And it has been very effective.
I
And
love that.
I would say that my freshest team member has been with us already 2 years.
Wow.
So I would say that we're already quite senior. We have stayed together. Some of my team members have been with me already 3 years.
Yeah.
So we have grown together,
I love it.
gone through the pandemic, the war that affected us a lot because of our location. And yeah, I would say that if you see that spark in a person's
I
side,
love that.
then you should give them a go, because even if they don't have the knowledge right away, then we all know that during our lifetime, most probably we will go through different professions, because
Yeah.
world is constantly changing. So why not let them to try the global mobility one for some
Yes,
time.
100%, 100%. I think it's that definitely resonates, and the um, like ambition to constantly learn and not just be reliant on others is such a key trait, I think, of the people that succeed the most in this industry, because it's quite an easy industry to like learn about in a way, because it's quite public. A lot of the news, do you know, like
Yeah,
immigration news in Germany is often quite public, and often changing. There's a lot of it, but it's quite easy to find that information.
yeah, definitely. And I would say that this is a bonus of in-house team, because if
Yeah.
you're a part of the company, you're not only relocating, but there's so much more you're doing. And that means that if something changes in the company, you're also part of it. So it
Yes.
never gets boring.
Yeah, exactly. And for the people that are listening, thinking, oh, I wonder if this would be suitable for us and our program. But roughly, what percentage of your relocations do you do in-house, so into Estonia, Poland, Germany, versus outsourced still, just where you don't have the local languages or expertise?
Yeah, I would say if we talk about relocations, then around 70 to 75% of them are fully in-house.
Nice. Okay, so relatively concentrated into those few markets. It sounds like it's been pretty successful overall, which is great. You mentioned there were a few challenges, though. Tell us some of the difficulties in the transition. What comes to mind?
Well, I would say that trying to build the team during the pandemic and then handle the
Mm,
in-house cases was really tricky, because it meant that you're not only working during the daytime, you're working also during the nighttime, because you got the call like 3 a.m. somebody was stuck in the airport. So you needed to adapt with
mhm.
that. And when I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel, then the war started.
Wow.
And we had quite many talents joining us from Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. So it definitely affected us. And
Yeah.
we already had some people who were in Estonia, but they didn't receive the residence permit before the sanctions came out, because Estonia, together with Baltics and Poland, have decided not to give out any visas and permits for Russian citizens.
Yeah.
It's still the same. We're really strict with immigration here, because Russia is our neighbor and, of course, is a threat for us. Um, and they were like stuck in the limbo. Like they
Yeah.
wanted to work in HQ, join with us, but at the same time, like they
Yeah.
they knew that they can
Couldn't.
be here up to 12 months. We needed to find them some new solutions so
Yeah.
they can continue working with us. And it was a really stressful time, because some EU countries were also giving out threats that they will stop the immigration
Yeah.
and so on. And I was like, okay, but what is the safe place for them?
Yeah.
So I had quite many sleepless nights during that
Yes,
time.
I can imagine, and thank you for being so candid about that. Tell us, what did you? I mean, that is a very tricky situation, trying to find locations that your employees can actually move to. What solutions did you end up finding in that situation?
I would say that during that time, I had so many calls with different immigration lawyers around Europe, trying to understand what they're hearing
Hmm.
there, if there's some kind of things happening or not. And then we just decided to choose a country that is not EU for that time.
Yeah,
So we can make sure that they have a safe place to work
yeah,
for us until we find a new solution. Because we were in a situation where we mess up, they need to go back to Russia, and that wasn't the solution. It
yes,
wasn't an option, because
exactly.
those people were really Europe minded. They were against the
Yes,
war. They didn't want to go
yeah,
there. So that's why it was a really sensitive topic. And
a
luckily,
hundred percent.
like they're all still with us, working for us.
Wow.
Now most of them are in Germany,
Yeah,
and in some other locations as well, because of course everyone thought that maybe the war will end in a year. It
yeah,
didn't went that way, so we have like relocated them so they can join teams where they
yeah,
have other team members and bit better cooperation happening. because for us it's really important that teams can also meet in person,
Yeah.
not only remote. So that's why it makes sense for people to be in a location where other team members are also.
Yeah, that's super super powerful, and as you say, is shows again how global mobility can sort of really help people, particularly in times of crisis, right? Helping them find where is actually feasible for them to go and live. Obviously, that's an extreme situation, but it's invaluable the work that you're doing there to help house them, and that does sound like it must have been a stressful period for you. So well done. You mentioned there that you were calling up lots of different immigration lawyers, trying to figure out what was going on. This is a recurring theme, Liis, that you're just calling people out, making things happen off your own back. Tell people, how are you doing that? Are you just Googling German immigration lawyers? Are you building your network and asking people how to do it? Like, where have you sort of accessed these partners from?
I would say that as my team was still like really focusing to Estonia during that time, we didn't have much connections in other countries. Then yeah, it started with like Googling and scheduling the calls,
I love it.
because of course, like in some countries, our HR already had some like connections. Then of course I used those. But in the countries where we didn't, then yeah, just go schedule the call and try to understand what's happening. Like explain your story, explain what help you need, and be completely honest. And also expect that from the other part, because during that situation you can't mess up.
That's it, right? It's like you can't. Yeah, that scenario you can't give bad advice, right? Because this is people's lives on the line. So tell me next one then. You mentioned that Estonia quite strict on immigration in that space. I know Bolt is one of the sort of biggest sponsors of visas of companies based in Tallinn. Tell me about how you use the fact that you're a big sponsor of visas to try and influence policy and try and make sure that any changes are enabling the talent you need to get into Tallinn.
I would say that as we have lots of relocations happening, and of course Estonia has other startups and tech companies who relocate quite a lot as well, then it's really important to use the data to share it with the government as well. Because they need to understand what are the limits and obstacles in the way. And that's why we try to cooperate as much as possible. We're always like the ones who are like, can we have a round table? Can we really discuss? Because authorities are seeing the one side of the things, we are seeing the other side of the things, and we should find the middle ground to find the best solutions. Because of course we know that governments want to make the changes on good reasons. They have their own reasons, but at the same time, we are missing the talent. So that's why we're trying to always cooperate here. And of course, all the limits that are coming with the new laws are affecting us, because Estonia is getting a bit less popular for a place to relocate. And of course, we don't have the warm and sunny weather to offer.
Exactly.
Our neighbor is still Russia. We can't move the state to another location. And of course, I believe everywhere in Europe, but the life is getting more expensive here as well. And because of that, people maybe prefer some locations where the prices are a bit lower than here. And of course, I would say that there's a very big role on the media as well, because Estonia has been a lot in the news as a neighbor of Russia. But at the same time, maybe people are missing the part that what we're doing, right? So it would be safe in here. We have NATO in Estonia. We have overall really safe country. As a female or as a child, you can go out during the nighttime and it's fine. You don't have to worry. So that's the things we need to. We have a fire alarm happening, so I need to evacuate.
Oh my God, really? Wow,
Yeah,
what
we
the
have
trip? That's a
I
first.
hope that's training, but we just
Okay,
got
cool, cool, cool.
the Slack
Let's.
message that we need to.
Oh my God. So, in a true first list, we've had a podcast interrupted by a fire drill, but we're back in and excited to continue. Thank you for coming back. Where I wanted to jump back in was we discussed a little bit about how mobility, particularly in markets where they do relocate or sponsor a lot of visas, can influence the authorities to at least be aware of the impact of changes and the company's position on that. Super, super interesting. And I think people will find that valuable. Let's flip it to the other side. And you mentioned some of the challenges of attracting talent to Estonia, obviously a smaller market, maybe not as traditional a relocation destination. Tell us about some of the tools and techniques that you and the talent acquisition team have used to try and attract the best candidates to come over.
So definitely the one thing that we had done is put together, I would say, a really good career page that lets people know who we are, what to do, where we're located. And also during the recruitment phase, we have different like booklets that we have made that are really open and honest. So we're not trying to oversell, because with relocation, overselling is a really bad idea. Because usually if you arrive in a new country and you find that the reality isn't really matching, then the cultural shock and depression will be much, much worse.
So don't promise sunny weather all the time in Thailand.
No. I would say that one thing is that I've always said to everyone, and also to the recruitment, because we work together really much, is that please don't oversell the relocation.
Yes.
Please don't. And we put together like information booklets, and of course, if needed, and people are seeing that relocation might be a blocker to reach the offer stage, then my team can have a call with them to explain and answer all the questions that they might have. Because I would say that Estonia has been a really good location for people who have families. It's really safe here. We have good schools, and they don't have to worry about the like issues that you usually have with bigger cities. Because for us, Tallinn is capital and it's the biggest city in Estonia, but for other people, it's a small town. So it's really easy to get one point to another here. And we don't have those like big traffic jams and so on. So you can have this nice life where you can walk to work in the morning. Your kids can walk to school.
I love that.
This can be really valuable for someone. And of course, we need to be understanding that there are people who want that busy life. And Estonia might not be the location for them. Luckily, of course, we're like global company, and if the talent is really missing from the company, we have other options as well on the table. But like I said, we're always trying to get the talent to HQ to Estonia because we really value the opportunity to work together in person, especially after the COVID time, because we have the like hybrid function that you can work from home, but also the office. And to be honest, even from my own personal view, it's so nice to be in the same meeting room with my CEO to brainstorm in real life. So that's why, I would say to take it together, like be honest about your location, point out the things that maybe people don't see when they like Google. Because if you're Googling a country, then I would say the negative news are always popping up first.
100%.
So balance it. Give your perspective and view, and it helps.
Yeah, and a couple of things I wanted to unpack there. One, you mentioned sharing material, amazing careers page, which I think it sets the scene, and Bolt does have amazing, and it really explains life in Estonia there. So it's, if your internal talent team don't have that and you're struggling for relocation, lobby them to change that for sure. The other thing you mentioned was sharing information early in the recruitment process. What does that actually look like? Is that after they've done one interview? Is that at offer stage? When are talent acquisition actually going, hey, this is what life in Tallinn could look like?
I would say that global mobility is anyways tied to the recruitment quite a lot
Yeah.
because for us it's really important already to know their immigration background, like even if they're in a country already, what is the background there and what we should also keep in mind. But yeah, we usually know in the beginning already where the position will be located, and based on that, recruiters can already double check if they would be willing. If not, what is the obstacle and so on. Then they can move forward, because I would say that if a person during the first interview would be like, definitely not relocating, and that's not an option for us as well, then of course we need to make some decisions. But of course, if a person is already a bit hesitant, then recruiters can share some information. Also, as we talked about our career page, then we have a blog, like Bolt's blog, where we have the stories from our own employees who have been relocating.
I love
they
that.
have shared the stories, how they went, that they're really honest, which means that they have also pointed out the issues they had. And it helps other people to prepare better as well.
I love that. I think we'll include that blog in the show notes as well, so people can take a look, because that definitely marries with when people are nervous. They just want to hear how other people have found it, and not necessarily the polished sort of, oh, everything's going to be amazing. When everyone knows it's not.
Yeah, and during the offer phase, if you already know that, for example, the candidate have received the offer and they're still hesitant, and connected with your employee who have gone the similar process,
100%.
maybe the same citizenship, maybe they both have families, so the profiles would be as similar as possible, and then connect them. They can have a call, they can chat, and that's really helpful.
Yes, really, really powerful. One other thing I wanted to touch on, you mentioned pleading with talent acquisition and recruitment not to oversell, a recurring problem for talent, because their targets are based around filling roles, right? So that for them, it sort of doesn't typically come back down the line if the person relocates and it doesn't go well, whereas that does look bad for you. So when you're doing this pleading with recruitment, how have you tried to make that argument to them? Are you having soft conversations? Are you buying them gifts? What are you doing to try and get them to not oversell during the recruitment phase?
I don't know. I would say that our cooperation that way has been easy, because we can always share the information and the risks and stuff that could happen if they oversell. Because at the end of the day, company and also recruitment knows it the best, is that if you have a person who joins and lives during the first year, that's a huge cost for the company. So we want somebody who doesn't leave that fast. And of course, they can understand if they're overselling the relocation part, then it can happen, and it's costing the company even more because it's not the local employee. So that's why it has been easier. And also we're always keeping them up to date. What are some restrictions, or even if we know that few embassies are having huge waiting lines, that we know that the processes will take longer than usual, so they can set the expectations right from the beginning. And for us, it has been really important, and we're working with recruiters on an everyday basis. We're having catch-up meetings, we're sharing the information in Slack, all these kind of things to keep them also up in date, because recruiters are usually the ones who, in a way, are representing us as well, because we can't always be in the calls, and it wouldn't make sense. So they should be educated well enough so they know what to share, how to set the expectations, and that's the way we are working. And also, if we have new recruiters who are joining the team, we're making a short trainings for them, so they know what we do, what to keep in mind, because I would say all the people teams are so connected. And as we are also a part of the people team in both, I know the global mobility team in some companies can be a part of tax teams and so on, depending where they're located. But as we are a part of people team and we need to cooperate with different functions, not only recruiters, but people operations, people partnering, then we're keeping this like good connection, bi-weekly or monthly
Yeah.
syncs.
Nice.
So we would all know what's happening, because for us, it's really important to know also what's happening in other teams so we can be better as
Yeah.
well.
So what I'm hearing, to play that back, is good quality materials again, trainings, things you can share, blogs about life at Bolt, so they have the assets, so they're not just freestyling. And then that constant communication, the bi-weekly syncs, the updates, just so that they don't forget, or you're controlling the narrative with them rather than letting them fill in the blanks, which is amazing. You touched on, where should mobility live within an org? Does it fit within talent and people, within tax? What are your overall thoughts on that, having sort of been part of the people team at Bolt?
I would say that global mobility, for me, definitely makes sense that it's under people team, but it should be there in a way that the cooperation with different teams is really like active, because I'm being under the recruitment,
Yeah,
I'm being under the overall TA, I'm being directly under the VP of people. I've seen the different like options.
yeah,
And I would say that one thing that people tend to miss, and it's really easy if you use agencies for relocating, is that if we talk about global mobility, it's not only about relocations, it's the full life cycle of employee. It's from the moment you start hiring them until the moment they leave the company. So my team is also helping them with business travels, like immigration around that. If they need help with like remote work topics, then of course that as well. So we can't be there only during the recruitment
yeah,
phase. We need to be there later as well, because people need to extend their permits. They want to know what's going to happen with their legal ground if they want to leave the company or apply for a new job, because it's life. We all know that at one point people want to move forward, and also one thing that we're seeing, that people are, for example, changing the apartment. They will receive a new a rental contract, and they're like, it doesn't look like the previous one, and
yeah,
I'm worried. Should I sign it? Should I not?
yeah,
And for example, if we talk about like people who are living in Estonia, then they can share it with us, and we can already tell them, because we know the law by heart. So
yeah.
please talk about it. Talk about this with your apartment owner and these kind of things.
Yeah,
They need to help
amazing,
always,
amazing.
and that's why I think that it's really important to keep in mind that if you even don't have the in-house team, you have the support for the employee for the full life cycle, because relocated employees will need a different support than the local ones.
Yeah,
Like, I know how the life works in Estonia, but even during the, I don't know, 3 to 5 year period, they're always experiencing new things that they may not know about. And they also need help and support their hand during that time as well. Like, of course, their colleagues and the communities they have can help, but sometimes they need a bit more like immigration related
exactly.
support, and then
Yeah,
the team can be really helpful.
yeah, and I love that. So sort of supporting across the life cycle, not just getting them there in the first place, but also almost in that sort of ongoing people function. And actually, as you say, it sounds like a benefit of being very hands-on with the in-house model, that they then actually do utilize you for some of those soft landing questions down the line, which sounds amazing. Liis, we're rapidly coming up to time. As you know, we have a tradition of guests leaving a question for the next guest. Question for you today, Liis, is quite an easy one in some ways. It's quite a short answer, but it's in what year do you think people will start relocating to Mars? You've got to take your best guess at when people will be relocating to Mars.
Oh, well, I would say that we have at least 50 years to go. I I know that some people are a bit more optimist,
Yeah, yeah.
but I wouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. I'm probably more in your camp, certainly in terms of any sort of regularity. So let's see if the pod's still going in 50 years, but we can check back. And obviously, I hope to have you again on the podcast long before people end up relocating to Mars. But thank you so much for coming on, being so generous with your time, and again, so interesting to hear about what you've built at Bolt and the super diverse program you have there. It really, really is quite unique. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing so many stories, and we'll have to have you back on soon.
Thank you for the invitation. It has been a really fun chat.
Cheers, Liis. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.